Green Pond, and Young's Island. They're very difficult to see in this kind of a situation, but again, you see on Storm Team 2 Live Viper Jet, we've got, again, still some torrential rains. This is the new tornado warning. Again, this goes until 11:15 here tonight. So 11:15 from this point on, we're on the air. We'll continue to keep you guys updated. Let me look at some of the products, and basically, again, we're looking at potential for a severe thunderstorm that might produce a water spout. Jed, I'll let you kind of...
Yeah, looks like 2 areas of rotation potentially with this storm as well. This one's kind of out over rivers and marshes at this point. And then the more concerning one, in my opinion, is the likely water spout that is currently about 9.8 miles down to the south and east of Kiawah right now. And the reason why this one's a little more concerning, the rotations, it looks a little bit tighter, but this is, I want to make this apparent, this is also 9 miles in the ocean right now, so this is not actively on land yet. So the reason that we're seeing this tornado warning in place, and we're warning you right now, is to give you an early heads up that this will be approaching Kiawah as we move forward in time. And again, once we actually just saw a tornado not long ago that moved through Edisto. It started out just like this one. It was a water spout. It moved right ashore on Edisto, and it did produce damage. I have seen some photos, some videos on social media, and we've seen multiple reports of people saying that they even saw the tornado. It was confirmed as it moved through Edisto. So now we have the potential for another similar situation here. And right now, it's about 10 miles or so offshore with this water spout. So giving folks on Kiawah and Seabrook, where this is likely kind of edging towards, ample time here to go ahead and move into that safe place, which again, get as many walls in between you and the outside of your house as possible, and stay away from all the windows as well.
Again, we've also got heavy rain that's moving onshore, as you can certainly see. And again, that will be another major issue. I was looking at as we're preparing for our 11 o'clock newscast, and some of the rainfall we've had between Charleston and Beaufort has just been tremendous, especially closer to the Beaufort area. We have another tornado warning you see down to the south, Port Royal and Hilton Head. And if we back up, Jad, we'll go back a couple of hours or so, you'll be able to see there it is, that tornado warning that was issued right there for Edisto Beach. That is the one that, again, did produce a tornado, we do believe, and we have confirmed reports of damage. We've got video, and again, this did move onshore, beginning as a water spout, then became a full-fledged tornado.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same possibility with the storm we're tracking right now. And we mentioned earlier as well, because we had to break in to warn you guys about that Edisto tornado, is the potential for each of these thunderstorms that are currently offshore, as they begin to push in, they will pose the potential for a water spout at minimum, if not tornado risk as well. And I think that's what we're seeing right now, Storm Team 2 Viper radar. Yeah,
here come more showers and thunderstorms. These cells are offshore, and they are going to be moving onshore as well. So this is going to be a rough night, especially now as everything's kind of moving up the coast a little bit. A lot of the activity was centered down in southern Charleston County, as well as Beaufort County, all the way into southeastern portions of Georgia, around Savannah. That was earlier in the day. Now everything is kind of shifting back into central Charleston County. Now we're talking about the peninsula, where we have flash flood warnings up. We've got a curfew for downtown Charleston Peninsula. So again, this is all part of what is now Tropical Storm Debby. Debby made landfall earlier today, about 7 o'clock in the Big Bend area of Florida. And now we're starting to see, unfortunately, the dirty side, we call it, of Debby. And that is all those storms that are kind of circulating around the broad center that's now located in the southern portions of Georgia. I'll kind of pull out on that in just a couple of seconds here.
Yeah, and the concern with that being down to our south and west and stalling and moving so slowly, of course, number one, the rainfall, that's what we've been really hitting on. But when we're on that northeastern side of the storm, that again puts us under the gun potentially for tornadoes and water spouts. We've already seen one confirmed tornado on Edisto, like we pointed out. And now we have that water spout that we're watching that is now, as of the latest scan, about 8 miles to the south and east of Kiawah offshore. So again, there's not an active cell that has tornado potential on Kiawah yet. We're just giving you a really good timed heads up here that this will be approaching Kiawah, and it's only about 8 miles down to the south and east. Now, I know that they also issued this tornado warning not only for that water spout But for that other little cell off to the north and east as well, there is a little bit of weak rotation with that as well.
Yeah.
But that's also out over a lot of marshland, and there's just not a ton of rotation.
And you kind of see that going through very, very quickly there.
Yep, and that's the thing about tropical tornadoes. They spin up very quickly, and it can be kind of hard to detect them sometimes. So that's why it's great to give an advanced warning with these situations, because just like what we saw with Edisto, they can certainly be very damaging.
So that's that one spin up that was warned on just a little while ago, and again, another one coming through. The one on offshore Kiawah, that's the one we'll keep watch on as well, because again, we've already had a waterspout that did move onshore, Edisto, and it did create damage. So chances are it was a tornado. And again, we've got video proof of that. So we know that in fact happened, and it's been reported by emergency managers down there as well. But right now, under the gun, most likely is if you live on Kiawah and potentially Seabrook Island, just offshore, we have some rotation going on that we are tracking that will be, because these are probably moving about 30 miles an hour, it'll be onshore here pretty quickly.
Right, and the tornado warning is in effect until 11:15 p.m., so we'll continue to keep you posted on that. But once again, the waterspout is offshore at this point, so this is advance notice that we have the potential for a waterspout that could move ashore, become a tornado, and do damage. And right now, it looks like it will be very close to Kiawah. That looks like the most likely location that this is headed. So if you do live on Kiawah, certainly keep a very close eye on this, and go ahead and move indoors and away from those windows and get as many walls in between you and the outside of your house as possible. If you have an interior staircase, for example, getting up underneath that would be fantastic, or just an interior room in general. That's where you want to be. But again, that waterspout's located about 8 miles offshore of Kiawah at this time.
And again, we're showing you our rotation detector, and we had some fairly strong rotation in the one that did move from the southeast to the northwest from the Atlantic Ocean back on shore, and then maybe a little weaker rotation, the one that we're watching off Kiawah, Jed, but still it's rotation, so we've got to take that seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, and it still has time to until it actually makes it closer to the land, so we'll continue to watch it. Hopefully it weakens as it does approach Kiawah. That would be the best possible scenario, but we still have the potential that it strengthens as well. We got to keep a close eye on this as it slowly approaches. So the last I checked, we're about 7 miles at this point down to the south and east of Kiawah. On the east side of Kiawah, it is just due to the south of the east side of Kiawah. So kind of like out towards the ocean course, if you're familiar with that area. That's pretty much right around where it is. Sandy Point, if you know where that is on Kiawah, it's just due south of that area and is tracking to the north and west. So it could be approaching closer between the ocean course and probably the sand castle, if you're familiar with those areas on Kiawah.
So basically, it looks like you said 6-7 miles. So it looks like our detector is about the same in terms of almost 6 miles offshore. Yeah. So moving 30 miles an hour, that's going to be onshore here pretty quickly. It is showing some weak rotation, but again, it's rotation. So we've got to, again, tell folks to make sure that you get inside your safe room, whatever that might be. Obviously, a lot of the homes on Kiawah are raised a little bit, go to the lowest level of the structure. We don't have basements, so that's not a place that we can go. So we have to look at other places, middle of the house generally, put as many walls between you and the outside of the house as possible. Not seeing as strong a rotation as we saw with the Edisto one, Jed, but still there is some there that we've got to note, and the National Weather Service obviously noting that as well by issuing this tornado warning. This is in the red area here. There's another warning to our south. That's for Port Royal to Hilton Head, but the one that we're most concerned about is the one that really encompasses portions of Colleton County and Charleston County. That's the one that was issued just a few minutes ago. Right, and like you said, actually, I would say over the last couple of scans, the rotation has weakened a little bit as well, which is great news as it slowly approaches Kiawah here, where it rapidly approaches Kiawah, that is. But there's still some rotation there, so we have to watch this really closely as well. So the broad picture, though, in addition to the potential for tornadoes, and again, going into this afternoon, that was not going to be a surprise. We talked about this in the weather office. We're under a tornado watch until 1 o'clock in the morning. Very common. The history has been such that we've had tornado warnings in the Savannah area. We've had tornado warnings in lower Charleston County. We now had a tornado warning just a little while ago in the southern portion of Charleston County and Colleton County. And now we're looking at that possibility again. Another warning, but also we're not quite done yet just because we've got these long strings of showers and thunderstorms, all of which that could produce a waterspout that could move on shore. We also have flash flood warnings up for downtown Charleston and surrounding areas. And we don't want to forget the folks inland, because these storms eventually will be moving inland. Not saying tornadoes moving inland, but the heavy rains will be moving inland. So if you're watching us tonight from Somerville and Moncks Corner and out towards Walterboro, once they hit the coast, these storms, they will continue to move back to the north and west. And I know we've been hearing a lot of thunder outside our studio.
We really have.
And we're in Mount Pleasant, so we're roughly right about here, coming over the bridge. And you can see, and not much in the way of thunderstorm here, but we're hearing the lightning and obviously the thunder that's down to our south and southeast.
Yeah, and I will say the lightning activity, especially on those offshore thunderstorms, has really picked up over the last several hours. And that just goes to show the strengthening of those thunderstorms that's ongoing right now. It's been really noticeable, especially looking at satellite radar imagery just over the last several hours. Look at all these strikes. We can see 44 just in the area he circled. So again, the tornado watch continues until 1 in the morning. I would not be surprised if they end up needing to extend it, just showing you, especially when you pull out, you see the wide picture of all of the thunderstorms still that are yet to come. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up extending that. So, of course, we have Grace and Josh coming in during the morning hours, and they've got you covered here as well. We have 24-hour surveillance of these thunderstorms, and anytime that these thunderstorms show any indication of rotation, we're on it, we're keeping an eye on it, and that's exactly what we're doing right now, is that potential water spout is located just to the south of Kiawah. And there was a new scan update that we could look at, and it is just down to the south of Sandy Point on Kiawah, which is that far east end, kind of to the south of the ocean course as well, and it's slowly moving about to the north and west, and at this point it's only about 4 miles or so offshore. So we'll continue to watch this really closely as it gets very close to Kiawah itself.
Yeah, here's a new update. Basically, the National Weather Service continuing this warning, looking at a line of severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes extending from near Seabrook Island to near Kiawah, moving northwest at 40 miles an hour. So all of these cells we're showing you, the ones that are about to move on land, the ones that have moved on land, and the ones offshore are capable of producing tornadoes. And again, unfortunately, the history of this has been to produce tornadoes. So we can't discount the fact these are just thunderstorms coming through and just moving on through. They're moving quickly, 40 miles an hour, but we have to take into account that there is rotation. We've already had damage down on Edisto Beach for another tornado that landed just a little while ago. So the history has not been on our side.
Certainly. So again, just another reminder, if you are on Kiawah in particular, that looks to be the area where this is heading, somewhere between Sandy Point and probably the Sandcastle area. That's likely where this will pass. If you're in that area in particular, anywhere on Kiawah, you want to be sure to get to that interior room as soon as you can. Again, avoid the windows. That's a top concern when you're dealing with very intense thunderstorms in general, but more specifically tornado potential. We could be looking at broken windows, and that's a top concern. So try to get away from all of the windows at a minimum, but again, an interior room is the best place to go as well. And additionally, with these thunderstorms, I have a lot of friends that always say they want to see the tornado, but we have so much rain falling right now that not only is it very unsafe, because again, flying debris is a high possibility with a tornado, but number two, you wouldn't be able to see anything anyways with the heavy rainfall that we have ongoing right now. Across really exactly where it's warned at, just to the south of Kiawah. And right now, it looks like the rotation is only about 3 miles to the south of what I would say would be the beach club on Kiawah.
All right, so we're giving you good landmarks to take note. Again, what you're seeing right now is what we call reflectivity. This is a product that looks inside the storm and you get a return. So basically, we send out a signal from radar, it bounces off rain and comes back and shows up on our radar. And the reason they're different colors is because we can get a stronger return with heavier rain. It's just the same way as throwing a rubber ball up against a wall. You throw it hard against the wall, it's going to come back hard. So when we send out a radio wave, it bounces off precipitation. If you've got a good sheet of rain coming in, you're going to get a better return. Thus, we can say most likely that is heavier rain as opposed exposed to lighter rain. So rainfall, tremendous amounts of rainfall, potential flooding, that's an issue in addition to these rain bands that are circulating around the big, broad circulation of what was at one time Hurricane Debby, now Tropical Storm Debby. Again, we've got to be on the lookout for these water spouts just off the coast of Kiawah Island. Jed, I'm having a hard time finding, there we go. Well, let's see, right about here. Yeah, just general right here. Sometimes you have to look a little closer, but right in here, most likely, is probably where we've got some rotation. And that is, as you mentioned, just a few miles offshore, moving northwest at about 40 miles an hour. So it's picked up its forward speed.
Yeah, it's getting really close at this point to Kiawah. So again, as we said multiple times, if you live on Kiawah in particular, I know this warning encompasses a large area. It even almost encompasses the Folly Beach County Park, but it's really just Kiawah right now. And then down the road, Johns Island, of course. But right now, Kiawah is going to see the first impacts from this storm that could potentially produce a tornado. It's likely producing a water spout right now. So we have a few roads here.
Yeah, Governor's Drive, Flyway Drive. It's really hard to see who might be exactly in the path of this, but I've kind of drawn the northwest line. So again, part of Kiawah Island, I'd say between Governor's Drive, the end of that, until you get to Green Wing, that is Teal Road, would be an area most likely. As some of these other roads will pop up. Green Dolphin Way, I would say that might be in the path of this, Jed, along with Turtle Beach Lane, over towards Town Center, Park Lake Drive. All could be in line to see what we believe is a waterspout offshore that, again, could hold together and move onshore as a full-fledged tornado.
Right, and we did just see that on Edisto as well. So again, the potential is certainly there. I will say the actual signature here doesn't look as strong as what we saw in Edisto, but we still have a few minutes where it could strengthen right before it moves into Kiawah. So certainly go ahead and stay in that shelter, get away from all the windows. It kind of looks like it's approaching generally, I would say, about 2-3 miles north of the sanctuary on Kiawah, if you know where that is, to 2-3 miles south of that area. That's kind of what I can kind of narrow that down to be generally in that area. But anywhere on Kiawah should be in shelter from this storm.
Okay, again, this is a tornado warning, goes until 11:15. What I'm showing you right now is our rotation detector, and you can see the legend at the top. Weak rotation, generally in the green. A little stronger is in the red, and we have a little strong rotation. That's about where we're looking at. Again, this is moving northwest at about 40 miles an hour. So if you move this basically 40 miles, it's going to be very, very, Kiawah Island here in just a little while. It says 11:07, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So
yeah, this is just on the doorstep, but that's the good news about being able to get on air right now and give you guys a heads up. It's still out over the water at this point, and we've at least been able to give folks a good warning about this coming, but now it is just on the doorstep, and it will be approaching Kiawah very shortly. A new scan just came in, and it looks like it's generally about 2 miles offshore, or maybe even a little bit less than that. So we're talking a matter of minutes here.
I mean, the fact that we're still seeing it on the scan is telling us something, that it may fluctuate strength back and forth, maybe a little weaker, a little stronger, but it hasn't lost that tight rotation yet, whether it be weak or strong. And not as strong as it was in Edisto just a little while ago, but certainly strong enough.
Yeah, it is right on the doorstep of Kiawah at this point. So again, this is just a last call. If you live on Kiawah, you need to be in that interior room right now. You can turn the volume on your TV all the way up so you can continue to hear us as we advise on the potential path of this as it moves through Kiawah here very, very soon. But the key is just to get away from the windows, get as many walls in between you and the outside of your house as possible. I really can't state that enough. That's the top concern with this situation. Again, windows being broken are a pretty significant hazard with thunderstorms in general, but of course the potential for tornadic thunderstorms as well.
And we're getting some pretty strong verbiage from the National Weather Service, Jed. Next area of strong rotation, likely tornado, moving on to Kiawah Island within the next 5 minutes or so. Telling Kiawah, need to take cover immediately. If you're watching us tonight from Kiawah Island, we encourage you to take cover immediately if you haven't done so already. This came out at 10:54, so that's really just a minute or so ago. The National Weather Service asking us to get the word out that this most likely is a tornado, and we need to take cover immediately if you're on Kiawah Island, especially
Right through the middle
right in the
point
middle
of the
portion.
island,
So
kind of like around
basically,
the sanctuary.
yep. So that area, love it, know it very well. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it's a beautiful place to visit. We have a lot of tourists
Right.
who most likely are probably visiting our wonderful Kiawah Island, and hopefully they're watching tonight. And obviously, if you're in a hotel or you're in a structure, you want to go to the lowest level you possibly can get to. Put as many walls between you and the outside of the house as possible. Stay away from windows. If you have to cover your head, that's a good thing to do. Flying debris is one of the biggest issues we have with tornadoes, especially in this case. So, and the tough part about these, it's night. You can't see them. Many times they're rain wrapped and they come up on you very, very quickly. And that's exactly what we've got going on right now.
Yeah, this is very close to
yeah,
the beach at this point. It almost looks like it could be crossing onto the beach within minutes. So again, you just want to be in that interior location as soon as possible. Like Rob mentioned, getting as many walls between you and the outside of your house as possible.
So Jed, I'm looking right here. Is
Right.
that okay?
It looks like it.
All right, so let's kind of zoom in, and so this is, and moving northwest, so generally in this area here.
Right
so
along Surf Song.
Surf Song Road,
Turtle
Ocean
Beach.
Green Drive, seem to be a couple of areas that right now we're going to kind of speculate that may be in the path of this. You see Turtle Beach Lane, so
It's like
getting
right
very-
around Boardwalk 32, East Beach Village, Turtle
Okay.
Beach Community Pool.
this is Green Dolphin Way, and I'm looking upstream a little bit. If this does hold together, then you're talking about River Course Lane. So if you're watching us tonight from Kiawah Island on River Course Lane, potentially, because this is moving very quickly, and we'll have to wait and see. There's the circulation that we believe is most likely a tornado. That is a strong message from the National Weather Service, who issues these warnings asking us to get the word out because they really do believe that this is a tornado.
Yeah.
A waterspout becoming a tornado, waterspout over water. And there's, every time you see the scan go around, that's an update that we're getting from Storm Team 2 Live Viper. So when you see the sweep go around, that is updating the radar and getting those updates, so very important.
Yeah, and the reason we mentioned this signature several times is because when we were looking at velocity, you could see those bright greens, those bright reds, and they're right up on close to each other. That's a really good signature that we're looking at a couplet there. Maybe even a little bit of a hook echo and reflectivity as well here. You kind of notice a little bit of a hook as it's continuing to push in. But again, Surf Song Road, this is like right around the Green Dolphin Way, Sea Forest Drive area, Turtle Beach area. Is just off to the east of the sanctuary. So if you know where the sanctuary is, East Beach Village, even up to the golf resort, the tennis center, Roy Barth Tennis Center, that whole area certainly needs to, in particular, be in your safe place right now because we do have the circulation at this point beginning to push onto Kiawah at this time.
Yeah, also getting, Jed, as you mentioned, and doing a great job giving us good locations. Most imminent threat for the areas around Turtle Point Golf Course and Osprey Point Golf Course based on our latest radar. So those are the areas, if you're near those areas, the big golf course is there, Turtle Point Golf Course and Osprey, of course, we've got the Ocean Course there as well. But the two that they're really mentioning, Turtle Point
Right.
and Osprey, are the two most likely in line to see this tornado.
Yeah, and at this point, the circulation is over land, so it could be potentially moving through portions of Kiawah, impacting portions of Kiawah at this time. So even just kind of pulling out and taking a wider look down the road, we also don't want to forget about the rest of Kiawah kind of going
That's
back
right.
towards the Kiawah River, and then eventually this will be approaching Johns Island as well. We have to watch that and see how that materializes over time. I will say with the Edisto storm, it moved through Edisto pretty quickly, caused damage, and then it really began to weaken. I hope
Yes.
we see that here too as it begins to push towards Johns Island eventually.
Because that typically is the MO for these waterspouts. They do weaken once they reach land. Now, there are some areas that they move on to that aren't very populated. We know where it's going right now on Kiawah Island. It is populated. A lot of people live there. A lot of people vacation there. Absolutely beautiful. We want to make sure everybody stays safe, and that's why we're on the air giving you this information. I've kind of circled the area where we just had the last rotation on that scan, and again, there's Turtle Beach Lane, Surf Song Road. Again, these are areas of most concern to us. I don't know if I can get Green Dolphin Way. So Storm Team 2 Live Viper, this is right down to the street level.
Right.
And then eventually River Course Lane. We kind of gave you the heads up just a little while ago that they may also be impacted along that area. This area circled moving northwest at about 40 miles an hour. And let's see if there's any other information from the National Weather Service. I think that's, they've kind of laid it on the line, so to speak, telling us to make sure that people understand what's going on. Let me get back to, there we go. And you can see there's a lot of heavy rain down there too, Jed. So it's a very, very difficult night. Hard to see anything there. It could be a rain-wrapped tornado, but it's based on our analysis and what we've seen, what we know, most likely is a tornado that's making landfall and has made landfall from the water as a waterspout onto Kiawah Island as a full blown tornado.
Right, and with that, just for anyone that may be tuning in just now, I know I've repeated this several times, but the key thing is to move to that indoor location, but get as many walls in between you and the outside of your house as possible. The windows are a danger in this situation. You want to stay away from the windows, maybe have an interior closet or an interior closet under the stairs, for example. It's a great place to go, just as middle as you can get inside that home so that you're protected from the elements from the outside. Again, with strong thunderstorms, the potential for tornadoes, we could be looking at really strong winds that could carry debris with it, and that's a projectile, and that is an issue for windows. That's our top concern in this situation for those currently living on Kiawah.
All right, getting information now that tornado debris signature on radar observed over Kiawah.
That's right.
Basically, that means that there's something going on, Jed, something, and a new warning coming to indicate radar confirmed tornado. So again, there will be a new warning coming out for this area. It's already a pretty large warned area extending from just offshore back over towards Hollywood. It looks like just inside of Hollywood. So again, this is the area, I'll circle this right in here. Most likely is producing tornadoes or a tornado, and it's moving northwest. So now we're looking upstream, Jed. If this doesn't weaken, you're looking at Wadmalaw Island out to the north and west, Rockland, Rockville, Oak Grove, Wadmalaw.
Yeah, a lot of places in the path. And could we pull up the correlation coefficient?
Yeah,
So this is our debris
there
tracker.
We go. Oh, wow.
And this is actually showing a very defined signature. So essentially what we're looking at here, all these reds surrounding this area of bright blues and greens. The radar is sending out the signal, and what it's looking for is things of equal size. So raindrops, they're pretty equal in size. Even hail would be at least decently equal in size. When we see something like this, we call it a CC drop, a correlation drop. And what this means is it's coming back and it's picking up things in the air that are completely different sizes.
Yep.
And so for us, that is a very defined signature that we have debris lofted in the air at this point. This could be trees. This potentially could be pieces of buildings or homes out there as well. So we certainly at least had a tornado moving through. The latest scan velocity looks like maybe it's improved a little bit, but I mean, we've got a CC drop here. So the potential for damage has certainly, it's ongoing.
And Jed, that's exactly where we've been pointing out, Governor's Drive, River Course Lane, Surf Song Road, all of these areas on Kiawah Island. We just had that signature showing debris signature that we look for, as you mentioned. Sometimes it's things moving around that we know it's not rain, we know it's not something else, and it has to be something being blown around within that tornado. Yeah,
that is a very defined signature. We would certainly call it a tornado debris signature. So using radar, we're very easily able to determine that a tornado had or potentially is occurring. It shows the potential that there is debris lofted in the air from this tornado as it's moved through portions of Kiawah. So there's likely damage on Kiawah right now. So for those of you still on Kiawah, certainly stay sheltered and wait until this tornado warning expires. For those of you in the path of this, for example, portions of Johns Island, Wadmalaw also needs to keep an eye on this as it slowly or as it continues to push inland.
Yeah, and that tornado warning remains in effect, this one until 11:15. Basically, exactly what you said, mentioning folks upstream. You're talking about Wadmalaw Island, Seabrook. Even though the signature was just to the north and east along the coast, away from Kiawah, Kiawah and Seabrook are so close together that we want to make sure everybody is staying safe. So now we're looking Johns Island, Hollywood, Folly Beach, of course Seabrook, Kiawah, Meggett, Rockville, Youngs Island, Bears Bluff, and Wadmalaw Island, all potentially in the path of these thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes, which now we do believe there was another tornado based on our observation, not just the one in Edisto Beach, but now one just over Kiawah Island.
Right, and it looks like it might be located over the area rotation over the Kiawah River right now. So I want to point out, maybe you have family or friends that were thinking about leaving and going on Bohicket Road. It potentially could cross over Bohicket Road, so do not go anywhere. Stay sheltered. The potential for a tornado is there. We're still seeing debris lofted in the air. This is a signature for that right now. This could have been from moments earlier as the tornado worked through Kiawah. Hopefully, things are weakening on velocity, but that is a defined signature that debris is in the air at this point as it's slowly beginning to push, or quickly rather, beginning to push towards the Kiawah River and eventually Bohicket and then eventually Wadmalaw and potentially Johns Island. So that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on down the road.
And Jed, this is you grew up here, and this is
Right.
this is your neighborhood. You're now talking about Johns Island, so we're looking along River Road, and again, this is a signature that we believe could be a debris signature, a tornado debris signature, and that was a tornado potentially that moved onto Kiawah Island just a little while ago.
That's right. And so again, down the road, Bohicket certainly is just, there's a lot of trees on either side of that road, giant oaks, and as this moves through, this could potentially bring trees down. So this is just a nightmare scenario for you to try to drive on that road right now. So again, bottom line, stay where you are. Do not get in your car and try to drive down Bohicket. That would be a concern. Maybe you have family or friends that are heading, for example, maybe they're coming to Kiawah and they're meeting up with you and you're watching this right now. I would have them turn around and don't come up Bohicket at this point. Give them a call, give them a text. They need to turn around, go back closer to Johns Island and look for a building to shelter in, because being on Bohicket with this coming would not be a good situation.
All right, Jed, I've got the loop going with the debris detector, and you can clearly see where we have those colors, the kind of yellowish color that moved inland, generally most likely was a tornado that moved right over Kiawah Island.
That's right. You can really kind of point it out. Again, when you see those brighter colors, those yellows, especially those blues, we saw some blues showing up earlier in a very tight ball. That's just a very strong indication that there was in fact debris lofted, and that's exactly what the radar can do.
And this is not something we see very often. So
Not at all.
Certainly when we do get tornadoes, which is very rare, not often, many times they come during tropical season because of this exact setup that we've got going on tonight with these long bands, these long fingers, I call them, of showers and thunderstorms that spin ups. I know Irma with the Idalia. Remember Idalia? Last year we had that one tornado that moved in Goose Creek and twisted that car around, picked it up. Fortunately, I think the young lady driving the car was fine, but I'm sure that was just an indication of what can happen when we have these systems. This didn't come in our front door, it came in the back door, if you will, and we're still getting the impacts from this.
We'll say at least on the last few scans, the actual rotation looks a little bit weaker, but it will be approaching Wadmalaw now. So if you do live on Wadmalaw, now's the time to stay in shelter. But what we are not seeing compared to earlier is a really tight couplet. And what I mean by that is those reds and greens right next to each other, and bright reds and greens as well. It looks weaker, but this storm has a history of tornadoes, so it very well could produce another tornado. We have to stay on this very closely here.
So we're kind of zoomed in, and Bohicket Road, you mentioned that, Maybank Highway, this is definitely a populated area.
Right.
Bears Bluff Road. So this is where we think that, that some of that rotation has moved, even though it's weakened a little bit. It's still showing up on Storm Team 2 Live Viper. And again, we appreciate you guys bearing with us, because there's a lot going on here today, and there's a lot more going on over the next few days. Just because of we knew this would not be a sprint, it would be a marathon. We knew that tonight, potentially because the tornado watch was issued earlier this afternoon, would be very busy, and in fact it has. And now we are awaiting the arrival of more of these showers and thunderstorms that potentially could move on shore, and I have no reason not to believe that there could be some spin-ups in these as well.
Right, and I do also want to point out that there's some folks probably in Hollywood, Megat, that your phone has probably gone off for this tornado warning as well. And we haven't really mentioned you yet, but this storm is slowly approaching that area as well. So we got to keep watching out for you guys. Right now, it looks like it's located right over Wadmalaw at this point, and it likely is crossing over Maybank. So thankfully, that doesn't look nearly as strong of a circulation, but again, we could very quickly see it rebound. It could recycle. This is certainly something that tropical tornadoes do. They can quickly form. They can quickly leave. It's just very common. But there at least is some sort of signature here that we still have some at least mid-level rotation in this thunderstorm.
And again, that's into Bohacket Road, Maybank Highway, Bears Bluff Road, which has typically been mentioned. And again, the trend has been northwest at a pretty good clip. In this case, it's slowed down a little bit more, 25 miles an hour as opposed to earlier 40-mile-per-hour movement. So again, if you're watching us tonight from those areas, we'll make sure you are taking cover because of that reason, because we do believe, based on what happened a few minutes ago, a tornado waterspout did come on shore right there at Kiawah Island, become a tornado. We saw the debris signature. We saw things flying around in the air based on Storm Team 2 Live Viper and the Doppler radar, which is an amazing tool that we can use. So we do believe, in fact, there was a tornado, and we'll await reports like we got from Edisto, where we got reports almost immediately, Jed, of damage that had been done to some structures there.
Yeah, this is pretty incredible, and it really hits home for me as well because this cell is only about 4 miles to the south of my childhood home here on Johns Island. It will stay down to the south and west as it pushes closer towards Hollywood in time, but again, right now located over portions of Wadmalaw, so we have to keep a very close eye on this. There's a lot of trees in that area as well, and even with strong thunderstorm winds, they can easily knock over trees, especially when you consider the massive amount of rainfall that we have seen and we will continue to see over the next several days. It really doesn't take a very strong wind when the ground is so saturated to knock over trees, and we have some pretty strong winds with this.
I mean, that's a great point. The fact that, the root systems have already been weakened by the rain. It's not going to take much to knock these over. And that's going to be the case over the next few days, too, when Debby, the remains of Debby, whatever it turns out to be, whether it's a tropical storm, a weak one, or maybe tropical depression, when Debby gets close to us, the winds will pick up just a little bit. We still have that warning, Jed, until 11:15. That's just a few minutes from now, so it's 11:12 roughly. This is what you're looking at, storm winds. We're looking for rotation. And where you see the blue, that's a weaker rotation than what we've seen earlier. But it is still holding true on our radar, but it's not that far away from moving out of the warned area. So we'll have to wait and see if the National Weather Service extends this warning maybe inland just a little bit, northwest of the current warning where it's located.
And for those on Kiawah and Seabrook right now, I just want to point out that that area rotation is now out of the area.
Yes.
So you're safe from this storm at this point. Now, of course, we still have multiple storms offshore to worry about, but we'll worry about those as they come. We're focusing on this storm for right now, but we can say all clear for Kiawah, Rockville, and Seabrook, those of you close to the coast, because that area of circulation is still right over Wadmalaw at this point.
But again, as I put this in motion, you'll see that there's more to come. So you're maybe out of the woods at least for this. For now, but there's more showers and thunderstorms yet to come through, torrential rains that will eventually be working its way up the coast. This has been an interesting situation because we watch everything shift from some of the heavier rain bands to our south. Talk about Savannah. They had water rescues in Savannah today. They had numerous roads closed in downtown Savannah because of the heavy rain, shifted up into the Beaufort Hilton Head area. Then now it's shifting up into Charleston County as well. And what you see over Folly Beach, or eventually we'll see over Folly Beach, could eventually hit downtown Charleston, which is under a flash flood warning until early in the morning because of this reason. Grounds are saturated, already several inches has fallen. We're adding more insult to injury, if you will.
Right, and you can really kind of see it over the last couple hours. We started out with a tornado warning in Edisto. Now we have a tornado warning on Kiawah. Reports of damage on Edisto. Radar indicated damage on Kiawah. So you kind of get the trend here. Each of these thunderstorms are slowly migrating north. So in time, we got to keep an eye for Folly, James Island. We got to keep an eye out for even West Ashley, downtown, and eventually Mount Pleasant, out to Awanda, as each of these storms continue over time to stretch to the north over a long period of time. So it's 11:14 p.m. and we'll see if they'll extend this or let it go. But, we're going to be dealing with this through the overnight as well. So be sure to keep those phones on high volume. So if you are under a tornado warning, you can get away from those windows, get to that interior room. That's a big key there. And of course, we have Grace and Josh coming in. It's a full team effort here. They'll be in to cover you every step of the way through the morning hours, because I think the morning hours could be quite an issue as well.
Well, Jed, just got the word that the warning will expire here at 11:15. It is 11:15, so you're going to see this pop off the screen here in just a moment. How about right now, maybe?
There we go.
But anyway, tornado watch continues until 1 o'clock in the morning. So no longer a tornado warning in effect for Charleston County. We do believe there, in fact, was a tornado that did pass over Kiawah Island a little while ago. We'll continue to update you on that if we get information on damage or anything else. But all indications are, based on our analysis, the National Weather Service analysis, that there was something going on, most likely was a tornado that came onshore as a waterspout, moved onshore, overland, then it becomes a tornado, if you will, because all a waterspout is a tornado over water, and we just transfer from one to the other. And again, that has expired or will expire once our system catches up, but no longer. In fact, I'll go to the current. Let's see. It is gone. So that is true. It is gone. So I'm Storm Team 2, Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler, along with Meteorologist Jed Kristoff. I know Carolyn and Brendan are standing by. We'll get you some news here, and we'll continue to watch the weather because we're not out of the woods just yet. We still got some very heavy rainfall that will be moving through here overnight, and even the possibility, because that watch goes until 1 o'clock, we could even see a few more waterspouts that might move onshore as a tornado. Again, we're going to send it to a break, hopefully, and we'll be back in just a minute with News 2 at 11 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your patience, and we appreciate you guys following along. Thank you.